In the past 150 episodes, we've not only covered the original Shinobi, but also its arcade sequel, the completely different console sequel, the critically acclaimed third installment, a 32-bit spin-off with full motion video, and whatever Cyber Shinobi was trying to be. In other words, we've officially hit the dead end when it comes to classic Shinobi games, which can only mean one thing. That's right, it's time for the 2002 reboot. Simply called Shinobi, this 20-year-old action game hit the reset button and created a brand new ninja story designed for the 21st century. To help celebrate its anniversary, we're going to continue our journey through the Shinobi franchise with Sega's most over-the-top action game yet. Turn back now if you don't want to know what happens next, because today we're going to spoil the story and ending for Shinobi on the PlayStation 2. This is Game Over, the Next Generation. When earthquakes ravage Tokyo and a mysterious temple full of hellspawn demons rises out of the ground, there's only one name to call: Joe Musashi. No, wait a second, that's the wrong Shinobi game. The ninja in this 2002 reboot is actually named Hatsuma, and he's currently the leader of the Oboro clan. He's come to the big city in an effort to find Kobushi, his master and foster father who hasn't been heard from since he ventured into the heart of Tokyo. What Hatsuma doesn't realize is that he's been lured to the city by Hiruko, a heretical sorcerer who's been waiting decades for his chance to get revenge on the Oboro clan. His evil plan is to use the reanimated bodies of the dead Oboro clan members to overwhelm Hatsuma and avenge his defeat once and for all. But before we get into any of that, our ninja hero needs to deal with a low-flying helicopter and a bunch of missiles. Thankfully, Hatsuma's childhood friend, Agaha, shows up just in time to help defeat the chopper and keep the ninja safe. Now, it's probably worth mentioning that Agaha used to be a member of the Oboro clan, but went rogue when Hatsuma was forced to battle his older brother, Moritsune, to the death in an effort to claim the right as the Oboro leader. While Hatsuma still clings to the title and tradition, Agaha knows that the Oboro died when the village burned down, and what remains is nothing more than pain and suffering. Of course, Hatsuma is not ready to hear this, so he does what he does best. He fights a bunch of ninjas on rooftops and reflects on the tragic events that led up to this moment. It's during an especially tough fight with a mysterious ninja that he discovers that his sword glows fire and seems to have a mind of its own. What the hell's going on? Well, it's a good thing Agaha has been following the Shinobi, because she's here to explain that it's actually the cursed demon blade known as Akujiki, which feeds on the hatred and pain that people feel inside. She warns Hatsuma that if the sword doesn't feed, then it'll slowly eat away at the wielder's soul. We see this almost immediately play out when our hero is confronted by Shirogane and Akagane, longtime friends of Hatsuma that have been possessed by Hiruka's dark magic. They just want to live in peace and end up begging our leader to kill them, giving the demon blade Akujiki a chance to feed. Oh hey, it's Kobushi. He's just here, resting in the middle of the destruction. He tells Hatsuma and Agaha that decades ago, Hiruko tried to cover the world in darkness by performing a cursed ritual, but was ultimately stopped by the Oboro clan and sealed away in a temple. Unfortunately, somebody has broken that sequel, allowing him to escape and once again wreak havoc on the world. He warns Hatsuma that Hiruko needs to be stopped no matter the price. And now that he's finally dumped all of that exposition onto our lap, he's finally able to die in Agaha's arms. So, you know how Hiruko has been possessing the bodies of dead Oboro members? Well, apparently he's in control of an army of monsters too, including this massive spider boss. While that detail isn't integral to the storyline, what happens next definitely is. You see, after slaying the spider, Hatsuma sees a vision of a young woman in one of the nests. This causes the sword to flare up, allowing the woman to float high up into the sky. Almost the exact same thing happens a little bit later as our hero is investigating the lava-filled caverns. He thinks he's found her, but it's all an illusion intended to lure him into a fight against this moth monster. Thankfully, the woman actually does exist, and Hatsuma is able to swoop in and save her before falling into the lava below. The two somehow manage to outrun a massive explosion, which finally wakes up the Sleeping Beauty. She immediately recognizes the sword and puts two and two together, revealing that she's Kagari, the heir of the Ubasuna family. It was her duty to keep Hiruko's spirit sealed within those temple walls, but we all know what happened next. What Hatsuna didn't realize is that the evil sorcerer is actually trying to rebuild Yatsurao, a weapon powered by the spirits of the people killed in the earthquakes. Yeah, that's bad, but what's even worse is that the two of them are once again separated after a flash flood interrupts her story. This leads to another level devoted to tracking down the helpless woman, who he ultimately finds knocked out on the top of a skyscraper. When she finally comes to, she continues her story about the Yatsuro. Having failed her mission and likely put millions, if not billions of people in jeopardy, she has just one request for Hatsuma. She wants him to kill her. With hand on sword, he thinks about it. But after being haunted by the memory of what he did to his own brother, he ends up pulling back and sparing her life. The only person he's after is Hiruko. Thankfully, Agaha knows exactly where Hiruko is. He's apparently trying to rebuild Yatsuro at the Nakatomi factory. And you wanna know what? She was right! Hikuro is just standing there waiting for our hero to show up. This is also when we get our first glimpse of the Yatsuro weapon, which is basically just a big statue monster. And as it turns out, Hiruko is going to resurrect the monster by sacrificing Kagari. And to think, all of this could have been avoided if Hatsuma had just done the selfless thing and killed her back on that rooftop. So stupid! Alright, so this is the part of the game where we fight the big kaiju monster, which ends up being one of the most impressive and tense parts of the entire experience. This thing has end boss written all over it, but this Shinobi reboot still has a few tricks left to play. In fact, instead of me spoiling the two big plot twists, I'm going to go ahead and run the next two cinemas back to back, allowing you to see exactly how everything was revealed in the game. Oh boy, I hope you're sitting down for this.
Kagari. I must thank you, young leader of the Aboro. Hiruko. I have finally unlocked the power of Yatsuro's spirit. I feel its power flooding through my veins. It appears that Akujiki has grown strong from eating the souls of the Aboro. However, it is not enough. Hiruko! What's the matter? Can you not raise your sword against him? Moritsune. You cannot kill your own brother, even with that tainted blade. If you want to finish this, come to Kane Shrine. Get out of here. It's too dangerous.
What about you?
I must go to face my fate. Agaha, why are you trying to stop me?
It was all to resurrect Moritsune. I am the one who broke Hiruko's seal. Tradition be damned. I cannot forgive the Oboro for taking Moritsune away from me. The duel you fought with your brother, it was not to decide the next leader. It was to keep Akujiki suppressed by feeding it a spirit. Why? Why did Moritsune have to die for that?
Is that why you had the Oboro killed?
I just wanted to save Moritsune. Just like that time he saved me. And the time is close at hand. I cannot let anyone interfere!
So, yes, this leads to a surprise fight between Hatsuma and Agaha. He badly wounds Agaha, but she manages to escape back to Hiruko and her newly revived lover. Unfortunately, what should have been a happy reunion is cut short when Moritsune murders Agaha in front of the younger brother. Obviously, this does not sit well with Hatsuma. He knows that this is one rematch that he can't lose, so once again he fights his brother to the death. Here's how that plays out.
Moritsune. Osama. My spirit resides in Akujiki. It has always been with you. I am taking Agaha with me. Take revenge for the Oboro, Osama.
Hey, do you remember that temple that mysteriously rose out of the ground after the earthquake? Well, as it turns out, that's our final destination. This is where Hiruko dances, excited for a showdown 72 years in the making. When the two men finally meet, Hiruko goes on a long rant about science and the hearts of men. At one point, he starts sounding like one of those political pundits you see on TV, talking about how the gap between the haves and have-nots has only gotten worse. Greed and war blanket the earth, he tells us. Hiruko's hoping that the burning hatred in that cursed sword will birth a pure soul that'll allow him to take over the world once and for all. But guys, don't worry, because Hatsuma isn't gonna go down without a fight. I mean, he's killed his brother and childhood friend, so he's ready for whatever Hiruko can throw at him. This leads to the game's most epic fight. While it might not be as big and impressive as when he fought a literal kaiju, what it lacks in bombast, it more than makes up for in length. Yeah, there's a long fight that ultimately ends with Hatsuma getting the upper hand. And with that final blow, this is what happens next.
The last of our kind in this world. Why do you still?
Now that is how you end a Shinobi game. Look, don't get me wrong, I've liked a lot of the 8 and 16-bit endings with Joe Musashi, but come on, this one takes it to a whole new level. In fact, I have to admit that the game does a good job of using the PlayStation 2's power to construct a deep and involving story. I mean, a good half of this game is nothing but cinemas, and most of them are reasonably interesting. There's family drama, an evil sorcerer, multiple twists, and even a huge statue monster. Seriously, what more could you possibly want from a ninja story? Pretty much the only thing missing was a guy named Joe. Oh, and that dog. I kinda hate how they ditched the dog after part 2. Now, while this is the final game using the Shinobi title, there is a 2003 sequel to this reboot called Nightshade. It stars a brand new female character who continues the story of the Oboro clan. We'll definitely dive into that story in a future episode, but for now, we're just gonna let Hatsuma have his moment to shine. I think we can all agree that he's definitely earned it after this game. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Game Over, The Next Generation. If you still want more Shinobi endings, then you'll be happy to know that we've covered the entire franchise, from the early 8-bit games all the way to the Saturn game with full motion video. You can find both of these episodes in the Game Over playlist, which has more than 170 of these episodes. It's really a great resource. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite Shinobi game? Are you a fan of the old school games, or are you partial to this PlayStation 2 reboot? And can you believe that the game is already 20 years old? Where's the time gone? I'm excited to see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back next Monday with a review of Breakout Recharged. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,